Hi, welcome to SBR Videos. I'm Peter Loshak. It's Friday, December 18th, and we're going to take a look right now at both college football playoff semifinals with professional sports bettor Teddy Covers. All right, Teddy, let's start with Oklahoma Clemson. Oklahoma 9-3 against the spread overall on the year. Just an awesome bet overall. Clemson, not really, right? They covered their last game. They beat UNC by 8 as a 6.5-point favorite. Before that, they had lost 4 in a row against the spread. This is the first time all year that Clemson is going to be an underdog, though. Both teams were also big over-trenders for most of the last parts of the year. We have Clemson plus 3.5 or 4, total 65.5 or 66. Teddy Covers. Should Clemson be a dog here?
Not in my mind. And certainly not a dog of more than a field goal.
Right.
As the betting markets are really saying that Oklahoma's a lot better than Clemson. And look, I live in Las Vegas, and I go around town. I talk to a lot of different bettors, and everybody's power ratings goes Alabama 1, Oklahoma 2. Not my power ratings.
Mm-hmm.
And I can understand the lack of betting market respect for Clemson just because the ACC hasn't been as good in recent seasons. And certainly when you look at the overall schedule, say, Clemson didn't beat anyone. And then you start really examining it. Yeah, they did beat. They beat Notre Dame. Notre Dame's a pretty good team. They beat North Carolina, and North Carolina's a pretty good team. They beat Florida State. Florida State's no joke. And yet the wins that the Sooners put together seem to have been more attractive to the betting markets.
Right.
That's the only reason I can see that Oklahoma's favored here.
When you think about Clemson's last game against North Carolina, they got the win, they even got the cover, but it wasn't one of these like blowout dominant wins where you're like, oh my God, this team is like we're going to bet them even at minus 9.5. It just doesn't feel like that kind of elite number one type of performance.
And see, I looked at that game. I thought Clemson played great.
Mm-hmm.
Honestly, I thought they played phenomenal football against an underrated North Carolina team that had won, 11 in a row coming into that game?
North Carolina had either covered or almost covered almost every game this year. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I didn't think Clemson did anything wrong in that. Their offense moved the ball up and down the field. Their defense came up with stops every time they needed one. And again, the money poured in against Clemson in that game.
Mm-hmm.
If you ask me what the key point is here, the key point in my mind is these are two relatively even teams, and the betting markets are saying one of them is more than a field goal better than the other one. It's simply market perception that I'm involved with Clemson here for. It's not because I think Clemson's a better team than Oklahoma. I grade the two teams basically even. What I think is that the betting markets have fallen in love with this Sooner team. And again, Oklahoma got to play all of their big games. TCU was banged up when they played Oklahoma, and Baylor was all banged up when they played Oklahoma. They didn't play a Pac-12 championship game. They don't have one, and they got Tennessee when Tennessee was blowing leads in the second half. Do we even have this game if Tennessee holds on to that lead and gets a score in the fourth quarter back in September? We probably don't.
Right.
Oklahoma's not even here if that happens. But for some reason, the markets, and again, their statistical profile is very impressive. So's Clemson's. But the Oklahoma's been here before. And of course, there's this big game Bob. How this guy still has that nickname after all these years is something of a misnomer at this stage. Let's not forget, Oklahoma's played in a lot of these big games under Stoops. They won the first one against Florida State. Since then, they're 0-3 in national championship game. What are they? I got them 2-5 in BCS bowl games. They haven't played their best football when it's mattered most.
All right, so it sounds like Teddy Covers is leaning Clemson, and +4 is actually an easy to find number right now. It's a split market, 3.5 or 4. And Teddy, what would you say to people who are thinking about to play on the over? Oklahoma, of course, huge offense, went over in 8 out of their last 10 games. And Clemson also went over in 7 out of their last 9. 65.5 or 66 is the market-wide total right now.
These are two really good offenses, and they're both offenses capable of making big plays in bunches. It's not a play that I expect to make unless the total drops, but I certainly wouldn't count. I'm not expecting a defensive struggle here. I'm not expecting the defenses to dominate.
Right.
This should be a fun game to watch. And if there's one of the two semifinal games you're going to bet over, this is probably the one to do it in.
All right, but your pick on this game, firmly Clemson +4.
Yeah, I like Clemson +4, but honestly, I don't think there's any rush to get involved with the Clemson side. If you like Oklahoma, lay 3.5 now. Find a 3.5 and lay it. If you like Clemson, I'm telling you, there's not a wise guy in town
Wow.
that's excited about the Clemson Tigers. And a lot of it is the name on the uniform.
Right.
People just don't believe in Clemson the way they believe in Oklahoma, even though Clemson's had the same level of success as Oklahoma had, if not more so, in recent seasons.
So you would guess this line's going to close higher than it is right now?
I would think it closes 4 or higher. I don't think there's any urgency if you like the Tigers plus the points.
Teddy Covers, awesome analysis. Thanks so much for your thoughts.
Well, thank you. Awesome questions.
Oh, yeah.
Peter.
No, they were excellent questions, but better analysis. That's what we really need here. Thanks so much, Teddy.
Pleasure's mine.